Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik, and let's just jump straight into it. We got not really much news going on today, but just some things made official from free agency, like we covered yesterday. More free agency deals were finalized. One being Santi Aldama being re-signed, and then obviously Jock Landale from free agency. Once again, those the details of those deals are not disclosed, but it's been reported, team friendly deals mostly. So I would say nothing to really worry about. Um, like I said, these are one of the things that the Grizzlies prioritize the not the signing trade, re-signing Santi Aldama. That was one of the main priorities from Zach Kleiman. So getting that done, and then obviously getting a veteran center in Jock Landale. Obviously, I wish there were more done in that front court position, and hopefully it is more done. But I mean, only time can tell. There's nothing really the Grizzlies are saying that could be done. Um, Also, just small news, but when it comes to Santi Aldama, it did come out from the the NBA's Players Association that Santi was voted as one of the foundation board of directors. So shout out to him. It's actually pretty good. I'm not too familiar with the NBPA, but I do know they handle all things players. Board of directors is a pretty big deal, so that's pretty good for Santi. So that means it'll be two Grizzlies now in that position. One being Jaren Jackson Jr., who has been on the NBPA for a minute now. So yeah, Grizzlies being well represented in the Players Association. So hopefully that comes out in some way benefiting the Grizzlies. I doubt it, but only time will tell. And I'm not really too familiar with that topic. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. But something else that I am familiar with: the Grizzlies played the Warriors in the Summer League last night. Very, very, very late tip off. I don't know why they agreed to it. But yeah, it was a late tip off, and the Grizzlies did lose 96-84. And there were some standout performances that I truly enjoyed watching. One of them being Cam Spencer, who scored 23 points. Always love a good Cam Spencer performance. He looked very comfortable getting his shot, seemed more aggressive, which we've noticed over the course of games. So can't really complain about that. Jalen Wells did struggle a bit, so that is the only downside to it. Like I said, much of I don't think it's much to worry about because this isn't Jalen Wells' game. Honestly, he's going to be around players that are more experienced and more ball dominant. So I don't think it's something that I'm not really worried about Jalen Wells. I've seen enough from him to know that a few games in Summer League are something that I don't have to worry about. So that's that. Gigi Jackson looked pretty good. He didn't shoot that well, but watching the game, he actually touched on a lot of other things that when it comes to Gigi Jackson, he's needed to improve on. One of them being the playmaking. He had six assists, no turnovers. That's always pretty good because Gigi Jackson, he has had his moments where he can be a little careless with the ball, so that was a good sign to see. 8 rebounds, always good. 13 points. Like I said, really he just needed to shoot better from three. That was really what it was. Other than the 3 point shot, he shot 1 for 6 from three. Other than that, he actually played pretty good. It's just that 3 point shot was not falling. So yeah, I mean Gigi played good, and there was one person that really stood out to me. And before I get to him, shout out Magne and Will Magne and Trey Burton. They played pretty good in the short amount of minutes that they played. Obviously, box score not telling the full story, but just watching the game, you love to see the effort. Kind of liked what I saw. Defensively, the Grizzlies did struggle, so that was always something that really caught me off guard watching the game. So hopefully that gets better in the future. But once again, this is Summer League. But there was one performance that stood out to me over anybody's, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say a hot take. Vince Williams' job is going to be determined based off how this man plays in the if he plays in the regular season. It's going to be determined off of this because Jemiah Mashak, my goodness, I like him. I like him. It's just that simple. I like him. He is a very good energy guy. He produces. He's hungry, and that's what I appreciate more than anything. He is hungry, and it's just like, man, he's one of those ones. Like I looked at the box score, and like I said, he's one of those players that you don't really pay attention to the box score because you just watch his game. But he's one of those players, you look at the box score and you're like, okay, pretty good. But just to give you an example, in last night's game, he scored 15 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, and a plus minus of 17, and all this in 23 minutes. If that isn't impactful, I don't know what to take. The only downside to this game was the fact that he had 5 turnovers. But other than that, even in those 5 turnovers, he never really gave up on the play. He always tried to make up for it. So that's something that I do appreciate it. Players who make up for their mistakes, or at least try to, because to me, effort matters over anything. But I'm over here. I'm overall just saying that Jemai Meshack is going to exceed expectations. Honestly, depending on the direction of the team, I could very much see him playing minutes this year. And that's just me being honest. He is somebody that the Grizzlies, like, I know we're talking about Cedric Howard being the steal of the draft. Jemai Meshack may have that potential. Once again, this is all summer league. It's all summer league. So I can't jump to the conclusion and be like, oh, he's better than half the guys on the roster. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that at all. I'm not going to say he deserves a main roster spot right now, because he still has to work for it. Summer league is summer league, but you still have a long way to go, especially with a team like the Grizzlies. If this is a team like the Wizards, that's a different discussion. But this is a team that still is considered a potential contender. So you really have to remember that the roster is filled with a bunch of guys that they feel already can be on a championship team. So trying to add to that, it can be a little difficult. But I just hope the Grizzlies don't fumble the opportunity with Jemai Meshack, because he's proven to be one of those players that I look at and I'm like, he's exactly the definition of Memphis Grizzlies basketball. He's that guy. He's a guy that can be defensive. He can be the enforcer. He can essentially do a lot of things. Obviously, he still has a lot to improve on, but in what I've seen, he can definitely find himself being impactful with a few years of development. Like, not even joking. Like, he's a special talent. And seeing what I've seen in Summer League, I think he's one of those players that a lot of teams kind of wish they had on their team, genuinely speaking. So the fact that he fell to the last pick of the draft, the Grizzlies may have fell in luck with that in the near future. And like I said, just a high take, Vince Williams Jr., you might have to step it up, because we're seeing a guy that is essentially doing the things that you can do, but he's making noise with it. And obviously Vince Williams Jr. has kind of had some down years, so it's not like you're gonna lose your job kind of thing. It's more so just like a warning, because he's coming for it, and he's making good progress towards it. That's all I'm gonna say. Speaking of good progress, Ja Morant, in the Summer League game that he was in over this past weekend against the I can't remember the team, the Trailblazers. When they played the Trailblazers, he was there in attendance, like we mentioned, and he told the media that he's already in the lab, and that's not something that I didn't expect to hear, because that's kind of how Ja Morant is. He's one of those players that, is always in the gym anytime he can. I mean, it's a busy summer for Ja. He's got his Japan tour. He's already rehabbed the hip injury, so that's a good sign. One thing I said about Ja Morant earlier in the year was that, hopefully he gets more comfortable with his mid-range game. If he gets more comfortable with his mid-range game, I think we're good. I would love for him to shoot at least 35 to 40% from three. As long as he can do that, it doesn't even have to be a high volume of attempts, but as long as he can do that, I'm perfectly fine with it. But I really want him to get more comfortable with that mid-range game. I want that to be a high-volume shot for him. Because here's the thing about Ja Morant. As great of a finisher as he is, and as explosive as he can be, we have to remember that we're still looking out for his safety. We're still looking out for his durability, his ability to stay on the court. And I think the best way to stay on the court is developing that mid-range shot, because you're essentially getting a close shot, a high percentage shot that you're comfortable with, without absorbing any of the contact that you nearly would have with a layup. Same amount of points, As long as you train it well, it has basically the same chances of going in, because you have to remember, Ja Morant is a very tough finisher. He's one of the best finishers in the league. So a lot of those layups that he makes are not high percentage shots. They don't really have good chances of going in, but it's Ja Morant, and he has a great finishing touch that these shots go in. But for most players, those shots are not going in. So that's just the thing with Ja Morant. It's really just that. And obviously, um, main thing for him and the Grizzlies is just learning how to play up tempo basketball with that while playing careful basketball, because they played a lot of careless basketball. They were a top team in turnovers, which always is a good recipe for disaster. And it's clear that, and the numbers show it. I mean, you look at OKC; they were one of the teams with the fewest turnovers in the league throughout the entire season, and obviously led them to a championship. Same thing with Indiana, led them to a championship. Turnovers are the key to getting to the championship. Turnovers and defense. So as long as the Grizzlies can touch upon that, and hopefully Islow's system can really get them into that flow, I think we're looking at a team that could make some noise come time for the postseason and throughout the entire season. Like I said, time will only tell. This is the all season. Who knows what could happen? It's unpredictable. That's the thing about the NBA season. So just got to buckle up and hope that the Grizzlies are making the right decisions and essentially doing what they can to put themselves in a position to succeed. But as far as this edition of Grizzlies Daily, that's really all I got. Not much going on, so that's a wrap. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you get a notification every time we upload. And make sure to leave a comment on anything you got, specifically the Jemai Meshack one. I really want to see y'all thoughts on that, because I want to make sure I'm not the only one seeing what I'm seeing, or if I'm overanalyzing it. If I'm overanalyzing it, please feel free to call me out on it. I'm just evaluating how I see it compared to other players in the league, and he meshes well. So I'd love to hear y'all thoughts on that. As far as everything else, not really much going on. Like I said, this is a dead point in the off season. So at most, if the Grizzlies do anything, it may sign somebody at the last second or make a trade. Who knows? But as far as that, not much going on. And that's for this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm Melek, and I will be signing off.